It's Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. This is the Rolling Thunder Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Ryan.
Ryan's on the ball today. Ryan, how's your past week been? Pretty
busy, man. With the festival coming up in South Surrey White Rock, it's been crazy. And I had a really nice visit with some friends I haven't seen in about a year. It was an old caregiver and her husband that came over.
So nice.
We reminisced about wiping my ass and things like that.
So. Ramps.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about accessibility.
Accessibility in general. Yes.
It's what you need. It's what you need.
Yes. And what's difficult about like the accessibility thing, I have ramps, as you know, we've had to use them for shows.
Yeah.
And they're a pain in the ass to use because they're awkward to travel with, they're heavy, and they don't always do the job, so.
Well, I mean, we learned that when we did, what was that, Dream Cafe?
In Penticton, yeah.
Yeah, in Penticton, where it's just like they could not get you on the stage because there was not enough room for the ramp to fit.
Yeah.
To the stage.
And that happens more than I like to admit. Things like that happen.
You know, you've been working a lot on your speech. We'll start transitioning that to walking, and then you'll be fine.
If only it was that simple, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I know it's not that simple. Dude, I wish places were more accessible, too. Like, I'm just starting to reach out to places for the spring for us, and, like, those are, like, the initial questions. Like, is it wheelchair accessible? Is the stage wheelchair accessible? Those are the two things that I'm asking, like, out the gate.
Even in the Nanaimo Fringe Festival that I did in the summer, there were 3 venues that or 3 of the shows, that I couldn't get to because the venue wasn't even accessible. And I was like, it's one thing to make the performer not being able to access the stage, but when I can't even access the building to watch the performance, it's 2024 and that shit's gotta change, man. That doesn't even make sense.
Who were you seeing? Like which shows did you miss out because of that?
Patty Savard, I missed out on her show. I missed out on this show that was called The Death Cabaret, and it was about like I'm not even sure what the complete show was about because I never got to see it.
Oh, okay.
But it was like it was about like helping people that were dying, transitioning and being okay with dying. And I thought because of all the loss that I faced in my life that would have been a interesting and kind of therapeutic show to watch.
Sure.
And then there was another stand-up comedy show. There were, out of the 4 comedy shows within the festival, the only show I was able to see was Adam Jacobson's show because he was in an outdoor like venue, so I could just park anywhere and watch the show.
That makes me feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I've done outdoor shows. It's the worst.
Yeah, but the crowd, the one thing about the Fringe in Nanaimo that I found is crowds were very empathetic and very supportive. So they still made sure that they enjoyed themselves and that their performers enjoyed themselves regardless of the venue's conditions.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah. But I too hate doing outdoor shows because I did Soberfest in, I guess it was 2022.
Oh, okay.
It's a big,
I figured you would have got that like right off the heat of Who Farted. You know what I mean? So
20 years ago, you're just gonna sneak in my Who Farted recording every podcast.
I'm gonna try to somewhere.
Okay,
Somewhat.
sounds good. But anyway, my point was that was it was really weird they set it up because all the stand up acts were outside, but yet all the musical acts were
We're
inside
in.
the venue.
Like that.
And it was one.
That's something
Sorry,
that
go
like
ahead.
that's the opposite that you should be doing. You
Yeah,
put the music acts outside, put the comedy acts inside because it's
yeah,
like the the music acts they I don't want to say they don't need the crowd response because that's not at all
mm,
true, but it's like the way they need the crowd response compared to the way that comedians need a crowd response is wildly
yeah,
different.
yeah. And also the venue or the stage that they had was set up in such a way that I basically had to stay on stage the whole time.
Ah,
so so they were even when they do their um, the space recognition and all that they do with indigenous people now.
mm-hmm.
Um, I
Yep,
was up
that's
there
the
for
way you want
the
to say it, by the way. Yeah, that thing they do with indigenous people, that's yeah, the thing that
I don't need to be there.
takes up
Don't
time
make
and wish they
don't
didn't
make
do
me.
it. That's
I didn't say that. You said that.
yeah, I'm joking around. That's
Okay, okay. You're making me look like an ass. Um,
I don't have to do that. You do that yourself. What are you talking about?
true
I
enough.
do that for myself too.
Okay, okay. But yeah, I just felt really awkward because I'm not indigenous and I had to be up there the whole time, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
We,
I was even up there during the,
we'd like to
when they
acknowledge
were.
the land that his wheels are currently on right
Yeah,
now. That's
exactly. Carving into the earth.
or
Yeah.
not his. This land belonged to other people before,
Yes.
and we took it, and now he's sitting on a piece of metal on top of it. So
Yeah. Yep.
I I understand the reasoning behind a land acknowledgement. I think
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
yes, I think that there are plenty of times where it's an absolutely appropriate thing to do. I
Yeah.
also think there are times where, you're asked to do a land acknowledgement and it's like who who's who serves this purpose at this point?
Mm.
And I would I don't know. I always feel at a comedy show, with no disrespect to anyone who's indigenous at all, you know what I mean? But like at a comedy show, it's kind of weird because it's almost the same as being like, let's take a moment for the death of so and so. Everyone's silent. All right, ready to laugh. Here's your host. Like
Yeah.
it's more of a sad thing than a happy thing.
Honestly, that's why I felt terrible for Tanya Lee when we filmed the AMI special for the Halifax Comedy Festival because they had the memorial clip for Daryl because Daryl was supposed to be on the show with us and he passed away unfortunately a couple weeks um, before the festival. So,
Yeah,
and Tanya Lee and myself and DJ Demirs were the only three people who really knew Daryl. So before Tanya Lee goes to film an international TV spot, she's in tears
mm-hmm.
backstage, and she's like, "This sucks," because um, I'm all emotional now, and I got to go out there and perform. And we kept thinking it's filmed for TV. Why didn't they do that? They could have done that last,
Yeah.
like, and then they could put it anywhere in the show that they want to, you know. But they did it first, which didn't make sense to any of us. So
It's totally one of those things too where like especially that let's all remember him and like the person that I mean he would have spent the entire time just hitting on Tangy Lee Davis anyways, so she misses out on
yeah,
that action too.
yeah, exactly. And I missed out on Daryl calling me a funny fucking cripple like
Yeah.
he always does.
Yep.
So
He would have called you a cripple and then you would have turned and would have went, do I hear Tangy Lee Davis? Hey, come here. I want to tear that ass up tonight.
yeah, Yep.
You still with that guy, Tanya? You are? Oh, damn it. Like, that's...
Mm-hmm.
I have to not speak in his voice. I heard that's racist, apparently.
Apparently.
I don't do it thinking I'm doing a voice of someone of color. I do it thinking I'm doing Daryl's voice. So,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
I get it, buddy.
you know. That's why I like
I
doing
won't.
your voice, because it's not racist. That's, I
No.
mean,
If anything, you do my voice better than I do my own voice. So
that
there you go.
that is not true. And you know that. It's,
You, Patrick Malia, and I lost one of my
I
AirPods.
see that.
Awesome.
I looked on the screen. I thought my bird pooped for a minute.
Nah.
Thank
There we
you.
go.
All right. Back in?
Yep.
Was
we're
that the
good.
only one you had in, too?
No, I had
Oh,
both in,
okay.
but
I didn't, like...
I didn't know if it would affect the quality of what we're doing.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's not going to touch the quality of what we're doing. Don't worry about that.
Oh, roasted.
No.
The peanut gallery over
I
here
was
just
going to
said,
say, it's people in the background giving us shit. That's fun. Thanks. Appreciate that.
yeah. They're just like, what did you say, Andy? Okay.
No, I would, first of all, he means the audio quality, not the actual content quality. She can't hear that, but I'm telling the listeners that right now, which, fair point. Anyways, moving on.
Yes.
So you had your friend come over during the weekend. What else were you doing? I mean, you're doing a bunch of prep for that festival, right? So,
Yeah. Dealing with comedians is always fun.
oh, yes. It's the most fun.
Yeah.
I did this past week. I did a show with Dale Ward and the and Gary Ewell of all people
Yeah.
that was doing a set. And I guess we recorded on the Wednesday, so we did talk about this.
Yeah, we did. But
So-
what we didn't talk about was the recent tour or recent road gig. that you
Yeah,
just did.
so then I did a road gig on Friday, Saturday. My days are all getting mixed up. I'm in like a very interesting position in my life right now, so it's just they all just meld together.
It's on one day.
It is. It's all one day. I currently my last day of my day job was on Friday. And so I'm trying to find something to replace that and trying to find like a place to live as well. So it's
Oh shit.
it's you know, when it
That's
rains,
stress-
when it rains it pours is really
Yes.
what it is. But
Yes.
you know, I'm not too worried about that. So Saturday, I was doing a show out in Comox with John Bueller and Byron Bertram.
Oh, that's quite the pair.
It is quite the pair. I mean, both guys definitely get the job done in front of a crowd. John's like so funny. You know, take the ferry ride over, drive up to Comox, check into the hotel. And then the show was for the Air Force, so it was on the Air Force base. And
Oh, nice.
and like we leave the hotel, we're like heading up to the venue, and there's like a security checkpoint, right? And all of a sudden John looks and he's like, "Ah, shit, guys, IDs, we need IDs right now." So I like reach in my pocket, I hand him my card. I've got it. And as he's like slowing down, you look, there's like a guard in the checkpoint, and they're just like reading like a magazine, and then they just like and just wave us through, like don't even check or anything.
That's funny.
And John's like, "What, dude? If they want to attack, now's the time." Like they're just letting everyone and anyone in right now.
Well, you guys probably look like so civilian that they're not worried about you anyway.
I guess so.
So
I felt so underdressed. It was funny because John was like he goes like, "Oh, those are like good pants." And I was like, "Yeah, I paid like way too much for these pants." And he's like, "Yeah, like how much?" I told him how much. I was like, "I bought 2 pairs of these." He's like, "How do you have like money for pants like that?" And I was like, "Well, I saved up. Like I've got like merino wool. They're like dress pants. So
okay,
so I wear them to do like shows, and I like they're specifically for travel. So I can just bring 2 pants and I'm good.
yeah,
And then I can hand wash them only once every few weeks, unless they get very dirty because they're antimicrobial, antibacterial.
yeah. I got
Uh,
a sweater that's like that.
I hate that I'm now making this like a commercial for
Mm.
this, but
Are
they're
we getting paid by these guys?
no,
Because
that's why
if
I'm
we
getting
are,
off topic as quick as
if,
possible. But I was just
if,
telling him, he's like, you look slick, and he's all like he's got a nice pair of jeans, like some nice shoes, and then like a button down and a blazer. Like he looks like $1,000,000, and then Byron's like wearing a nice button up and jeans. Like Byron looks pretty good too. And I've got these super nice pants, but I'm also wearing like a t-shirt, and I'm just like I now feel ridiculously underdressed.
hmm,
And I was telling John though, I go the reason I'd wear that because I used to wear polos on stage for like a few years
yeah,
because
that was your.
it looked a bit like nicer, but because of how my act is, my act is so dirty, and it's not even but it's so dirty, and I like ride the line with certain things
Hmm,
that if I'm a bit dressed up, it doesn't translate as well as if
yeah,
I'm, you know, dressed more casual, because it's like the topics that I'm talking about are topics that you talk about in a t-shirt and shorts,
yeah.
juxtaposed to like, look at me dressed up. Like I can't go out and touch the topics that I'm talking about dressed in like,
A suit.
yeah, in like a suit and tie, because then people would be like, you look way too serious to be talking about this silly thing.
Hmm. I never thought of that before when I'm. Because you see so many comics when they film specials for streaming sites and they're
Uh-huh.
all wearing suits, but they're still being
That
dirt.
that is
Like, look
so
at.
not true now. I mean, there's a good number of them who are like wearing suits and that, but like for the most part, most of these specials, people are just wearing like a fucking hoodie.
I guess so, yeah.
Like it's kind of like halfway. It depends who it is. Some people like Ivan Deckers, he was wearing a suit, but like that's what Ivan does, and Ivan's
Yeah, Ivan, I remember Ivan starting and he'd be doing a 5 minute squat and he'd still be wearing a suit.
yeah.
And so, yeah, you know? So,
Oh, he'd show
some
up
people,
at Kino sometimes, and I'd be like, "Why are you in a suit? Like, what do you? This is Kino. Fucking relax a little bit." It's like, yeah, I like to look professional. I'm like,
hmm,
sure, but just be a professional. Like,
yeah. Well,
it's a goddamn workout room.
I'm, I did, a few years ago, I did, I guess, closer to 10 years now ago, I did, the National Firefighters Convention.
Mm-hmm.
So they have firefighters from around North America and Australia, and I think as far as away as like the Middle East, and it was their big convention there, and they hired me as one of the entertainment acts, and it was my first like big paid gig like that,
Yeah.
so I wore a suit, and even though I looked good, I felt so uncomfortable because I'm like, this isn't me. I should just be showing up in like Adidas tracksuits and have a hat on my head and just be me. But yeah, so I was thinking even for some of the corporate gigs that we get,
Yeah.
I'm still dressed up like me because they hired me. They didn't hire me to pretend to be somebody else. You know.
Oh, when
So
I did a Christmas corporate gig where I was like pulled off stage with like 15 minutes left to go. Like not
oh
physically removed, but I mean it might as
yeah
well have been physically removed. Like the guy literally walked up. All right, that's Chris. Okay, I'm like I still got 15 minutes. Ah, we're running behind. Don't worry about it. I was bombing so
yeah
bad. Uh, and there was actually a guy in the audience that I recognized. Like as I was on stage, I was like, I know that guy. Where do I know that guy from? He comes up. He's friends with Lachlan Patterson.
okay
And I'm just like, oh, like, okay, cool. And he's like, that was like rough. And I was just laughing it off at that point. Like
yeah
I felt bad and I was like, I'm gonna laugh this off and then I'm leave. I'm not sticking around because this was too rough. And the owner was like, I thought you were funny, so I don't know. Sorry. Like
mm,
they can be a tough crowd sometimes. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
clearly.
You
Uh
can't please everybody all the time
oh
though.
no, of
So.
course not. But so his name was Matt. Matt comes over, sits down, and then we start talking. And then Matt says to me, he goes, Gaskin, he goes, I went with Lachlan to a corporate recently. This is like post him doing Last Comic Standing.
Okay.
This is corporate, and you know Lachlan. And what he means by that is like Lachlan's not really pushing boundaries, you know, in a way. Like he's not saying stuff that's super offensive, you know? And
Yep.
he goes, 10 minutes into Lachlan's set, someone throws a dinner roll at his head.
Oh shit.
So he goes, so yeah, you bombed, but no one threw food at you. And I was like, that's a fair point.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I did um a show for Disability Awareness Day, which is on December 6th every year. I did it last year, and the people that organized it were so impressed with me that they got me to come back and do their corporate Christmas party.
Mm-hmm.
So it had some of the same audience, but there were a lot of different people. And this time I was doing more time because they were paying me more. And I learned right away that um, corporates are not for me because I didn't fit their corporate mandate and their ideals very well with my material. So, which I thought was ironic because I was talking about being a disabled person in an able-bodied world, and they're an organization that works with disabled people. So, you would think that they would understand, but they were not digging it at all. So,
Yeah.
I I just ate my they. I was kind of like you, where they paid me and they also fed me, so I just ate my dinner as fast as I could and then just left right away. I didn't bother to sell T-shirts or sell any of my merch. I was just like, I'm leaving now. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
what I did with that gig. Like I hung
Yeah.
around to talk with uh Matt, and then like take a photo with the owner. Like the owner's still like, I want a photo
Yeah.
with you. Like I thought you were funny. I was like, well, everyone just looked at me very disappointed. So,
How was the Comic Show?
so first of all, I didn't see an elevator, so you couldn't do it. I
Oh
don't know.
shit.
I don't know. There's probably an elevator in that building. I imagine.
Yeah.
Um, it was very interesting. It was funny. Where the sound system wasn't the greatest, and they had like wireless mics, and the guy we didn't even couldn't tell what even brand those mics were.
Oh
So
really?
the guy's like, yeah, we got a new sound system. Tells John this because it's like the third time John has like put together this show,
Okay.
and John's like, that's cool, and they're like, yeah, it was like connected through like the PA system in the ceiling in the
Oh,
rafters, which
so it was like you're doing a show at Walmart,
at
yelling out the price.
kind of like that. And then
Yeah.
Byron's like, do you have like new batteries in these? And they're like, yes, I did it this morning. And of course, John goes up, the one on stage dies immediately. like,
Oh
like
man.
fucking, like wired mics, for the love of God, wired mics.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, if you were at all like too hot on the microphone, it just sound like this
Oh really?
over the speakers, because those speakers aren't powerful enough, so anything too
Yeah.
loud would just blow them out, right?
Yeah.
So it was like you really had to play with the microphone and keep it at a level, and like there'd be a few times where I'd hear like that little bit of feedback and just like, okay, just adjust it a little bit, because I'm very loud into the microphone because
you are.
I am tiny and people don't listen to me, and I feel I have to overcompensate, and that doesn't change even if I have a microphone in my hand. So that's what I do. I just yell into it.
So do I wonder, by the same standard, do I overcompensate for not being a stand-up comedian?
In many ways you do, but let's not focus on that right now.
Okay. That's an interesting conversation to
No,
have with you
you don't
then.
overcompensate. I wouldn't even know how you overcompensate. It's like
Okay.
you don't. Uh, and like the people there were very nice, and the crowd was into it. At one point, I did a joke that like literally split the audience right down the middle. Like
Oh really?
everyone to like my left did not laugh at it, and everyone to my right did. And it was fascinating hearing laughter come in just from one side and not the other. And I was like, oh, like I'm glad the end of this bit will get them back, but that one, this part of the crowd really did not like at all.
That's funny.
I like it. It was a fun time, and hanging out with those guys was really fun. I mean, the trip back was a giant pain in the ass,
How come?
because, well, it was one of those like we go and drive up and just buy the ticket to get on the ferry, and then end up having to wait 2 sailings before we get on.
Oh shit.
So we were there for like the 12:40 sailing. It was apparent right away because the lady was like, "Yeah, it's totally sold out. But keeping your car in case your lane moves forward, because if people don't show up, we do put on additional cars."
Yeah.
She's like, "So there's a chance you might get on, but we're just like, we're not getting on this fucking ferry. There's no way." And
That's that's why you gotta travel with me, man.
yep.
Disability cards getting you people through.
Well,
So
and then we waited for the 1 o'clock ferry, like the 1:40, and then when they were loading the 1:40, they barely even touched our lane. So we got there at like, I don't know, 20 after 12, maybe quarter after 12, and we caught the 4 p.m. ferry back.
oh man.
And then traffic from Horseshoe Bay back into town was just utterly like disgusting.
Oh, that sucks, man.
So I
Yeah.
didn't get home probably until about 8:30 ish, I would say.
You probably just crashed after that, huh?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Like I got in and just I had like plans of stuff that I wanted to do once I got in, and I was like, nope, bed, I'm out.
Yeah.
Called a buddy, talked to my lady, and then basically just threw on like a movie, and then was out. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But the show was good. Like it was really good. There was a couple times where, I mean, they're military people. They're like drunk by the time the show's on. Like and they're military people, so they drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
So they also, I mean, I look back at it now and I'm like, I wish I had been like, all right, imagine I'm the drill instructor. Like, don't talk unless you're spoken to, for the love of God. But it's like, realistically, only a couple people spoke out during my set. Like, I was doing a bit about how I look young. And I had mentioned, like, you know, people are shocked how young I look. And this guy yells out, like, well, how old are you? And I was like, dude. And I just stopped and looked over. I was like, do you not think I'm going to get there? Like, are you that person that, like, goes on Wikipedia to read what the book was about before the movie's over? So you know, what are you doing? Like,
That's funny.
and then when I was doing a bit about my brother, someone, like, yelled out, is he taller than you? And I was just like, that is not relevant to this story. Like,
Yeah, you never know what people are gonna
yeah.
say.
And,
I mean,
it's funny because it comes off of, like, the last time I was on the island with John. I lost it on a guy at a show, and then, like, 2 nights later we were at another show, and I was doing the bit about winters in Vancouver compared to where I grew up. And I had mentioned, like, oh, I grew up in Prince George, and someone in the back, we were in Lake Cowichan, someone in the back of the room, like, booed. They're like, boo. And I was like, are you booing Prince? Like, hey, Lake Cowichan, like, you're saying this like this place is the shit. What are you talking? Like,
yeah.
this place isn't that great. And, like, the entire audience was just like, fuck you. And that was it for my set. I could not get them back. By the time I was, like, closing up, they were all just having conversations at their tables. I felt so bad about it too, because, you know, I'm trying to help John, like, with this tour and make sure this tour goes well. And, you know, there I am fucking eating my balls. I mean, the show in Port Alberni, when I lost it at the guy, like, I ended up getting them back about, you know, 7 minutes into the set. But it's like, I got on stage, I didn't even pull the mic out of the mic stand, and all of a sudden I just hear this guy go, oh, a midget. And I grabbed the mic.
That would get you going.
And now I'm like, I'm fucking beside myself, furious. And I grabbed the mic and I'm like, just don't, like, in my head, I'm like, just don't say anything to him. Just ignore it. Do your jokes. It'll be fine. I mean, you're going to talk about being short anyways, but, like, it's okay. And I do my opening line and it gets nothing. And I do my second joke and it gets nothing. And I was just like, fuck you for calling me a midget, you fucking bald piece of shit. Like, I just went after him. And in my head, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, why? Just fucking get back to the act.
I think audiences don't realize sometimes
that we're people too. That we also have feelings.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. Like, you paid money, or sometimes it's a free show, but we're still people, you know. So, like, we don't walk up to them and harass them in such a way. So,
yeah, I mean, so, but
I don't walk up to anybody. I'm surprised you missed that, Chris.
You wheel up to people. You kind of, you have a way that you kind of saunter. You know what I mean? You're, oh, you good? Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of.
It's never in a straight line, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I walk beside you, and I'm like, dude, get it together. Like, you need your joystick on your thing needs to have, like, one of those things that the old, like, GameCube and N64 controllers had, where they had, like, the hexagons. So you could have, like, I guess it was an octagon, but it was tilted, so you could actually go straight up.
Oh, yeah.
And then to, like, I guess, what, 45 degrees, 90, the next 45, the next 90.
Yeah.
That's what your joystick needs. So that way you don't you're not you're pushing it forward, but you're also kind of pushing it like a little bit to the left. And you can't necessarily tell that until I'm like, dude, you almost ran over my shoes. Fucking.
Yeah. Yep. That just shows right there. Just get the hell out of the way, you know.
Yeah, I try to. I really try to.
I know.
Um,
I need to get like a basket on the front of my truck, and you can sit in there like ET.
I'm just a few years and a few wrinkles away from looking like that too. So
Yeah. So there you go. Don't worry. I'll always make sure you get the phone home.
touch weird fingers together, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Shoot.
With me, it works better with the penises. Let's touch penises.
No, I'm not even gonna acknowledge that fact.
I'm killing over here. I'm killing.
Yes, you are.
Ryan's literally choking on that one.
Yes.
The joke.
Mhm.
The show was good. It's it's just that thing. Like, I don't mind traveling, and realistically, even with like the wait to get on the ferry, just like hang out and shoot the shit, or like in our case, we kind of went our separate ways, and like John and I, but both just sat down and kind of wrote. Like, I was taking stock of my material because I would like to, in the spring, do a show where I do all my material and then get some people to, like, help me pare it down to what would be a special and then work on that.
I'd be, not that you've asked me yet, but I'd be happy to be one of those people for you.
I know you'd be happy to be one of those people, but I'm going to do it in a place with stairs, so that way
There we
I
go.
don't have to hear your bullshit.
I'll just yell from the outside. I'll be like,
No, I'll send you a tape of it because, like I said, I would like that anyways.
It's funny.
Yeah, my webcam's acting up, so just, just giving you a heads up on that. It's a pain in the ass.
Okay.
At
least it wasn't like you breaking the screen like I did last time.
Yeah. That's all right. So, yeah, I mean, like, and also, I barely got any sleep the other night, too, because I ended up, like, we did the show, and then, like, went and hung out, had a few drinks. So by the time I got back to my hotel room, it was maybe, like, 12:30. And
okay.
It was funny, too.
Did you get a late checkout?
No, we didn't get a late checkout because we wanted to catch an early ferry, which clearly did not work. Anyways.
That's funny. I'm just bringing it up.
If I would have scheduled it, I would have said, I have a friend in a wheelchair. They don't need to know that you're not with me.
There we go. That's what we call back in the business, people.
That's right. So I had, I basically, first of all, we hung out. I think I had like 3 drinks. Like, I had 2. I was feeling all right. And then they were like, do you want to do another one? And I was like, might as well. Because it was like spread out over enough time that, like, I was feeling it, but I wasn't like a mess or anything. I was like, this is good. This is a good pace to do this at. So when we went, it was so funny. I have the third one. We're hanging out. It's literally just like the bartender and like the guy who was working in the kitchen. By the time we were leaving, like they didn't come over like, hey, you guys need to take off. Nothing like that. They just fucking sat there and they had a conversation. And I was like, hey, could I'll get another and then I'll pay for mine. And he's like, yeah, he pours me another one and then gives me my bill. And I look at it and it's like $12. And I go, I got 3, not 1. Like, because I'm so used to how fucking expensive everything is in Vancouver that I'm like, there's seriously $4 a drink? Like, and the guy's like, yeah, it's happy hour. I go, even so, like, that's crazy. I go, all of this drink alone would at the very least be $8 everywhere in Vancouver minimum. Like, he's like, no, just $4 a drink. I was like, yeah, the one time where I'm like, I didn't want to drink more, but I'm like, I wish I ordered more. I could have afforded this for sure. Like,
yeah, exactly.
so I was like shocked at that, and then I go to my room and I basically just had a little nap, woke up, watched the Formula One race, and then had another nap and got breakfast, and then we left. Which that race was awesome.
Oh yeah, I didn't check the results this time.
Oh, so Oscar Piastri won. Basically, at the start of the second stint, like after the initial pit stops, he passed Charles Leclerc, who, like, Leclerc's, that was his fourth time in a row being on pole at that race, has yet to win it. Oscar
Where were
passed
they
him.
again?
Azerbaijan, so they were in Baku.
Okay.
And Oscar got him on the first corner after, like, the long straight with DRS, and it was like a very smooth pass. And then just the rest of the race, that was like 21st lap or something like that. And the rest of the race, the next 30 laps, was just Leclerc getting closer and closer, but always like within a second and a half tops. So it was like a hard chase the entire time. And then,
Awesome.
and there looked like a couple times he might make the pass. And then Perez was behind him. And Perez was challenging Leclerc. And then, like, lap 50, they all came pretty close together. And Carlos Sainz had, like, closed up the gap. So he kind of dive bombed in and made a very nice pass on Perez. And as they hit turn 2, he was looking on, like, hitting the outside of Leclerc, which was a massive mistake. Because it's like, you already blocked this guy off. You're now on the podium. You have one more lap. See what you can do there. But he's like, I'm going to make this pass. It was like a super aggressive move. So he had to, like, ease off after turn 2. And then Perez ended up, like, behind him, but in kind of a blind spot. And they just collided and went hard into the wall.
Oh, man, I hate when that stuff happens.
So, like, and basically Perez was, like, on the radio, what the fuck, this fucking idiot fucking runs into me. And then you hear, like, Sainz's radio, and he's just like, what happened? Like, and they're like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay, but what happened? I don't understand. How am I in the wall? So, like, luckily both of those drivers were okay. And then the FIA did their investigation, and they were like, this is like a racing incident. No one's really at fault. I mean, like, Sainz kind of turned into him, but he was on a racing line, and Perez didn't really give him room to stay on the racing line. So it was just one of those, like...
those things happen kind of thing.
Yeah, like, just bad situation things. But because of that, McLaren is now in the lead in the Constructors' Championship.
Oh, really?
Yep. Lando Norris started at, like, 15th and finished 4th. Verstappen finished 5th. So, like, those guys, it's like Lando's now 57 or 59 points behind Verstappen, something like that. There's 7 rounds to go, and 3 of them have sprint races. So it's going to be a very tight ending to this season, and this season has been very good.
Yeah, very competitive.
Yeah, so it was a very exciting race. Like, the fact that there was a chase between the top 3 that tight for practically the entire race. And it's like, Oscar's so young and so talented, but because he's so young, he just doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't have the
seasoning.
experience to like
Yeah.
how, because Carlos Sainz did that thing last year where he was basically towing second behind him and working the
Yeah.
battery to like keep him close, and he basically just did that until third place got really close, and then second place
Okay.
had to start defending against third place, and then he just scampered away. So like he ends up winning by like 7-8 seconds because second and third were like fighting each other the entire time.
Yeah.
So
It's
he
funny
like,
how that happens.
yeah, scampers away singing to himself "Smooth Operator." Like, so I mean, Oscar was kind of doing that, but also he doesn't have the experience to like save the tires as much. So he
Yeah.
couldn't just scamper away. I mean, by the time he won, he was maybe 4 seconds ahead, something like that.
Okay.
But like he didn't, it wasn't like, oh, he's away, he's gone. It was like there's 3 laps left. Oh, it's pretty clear Oscar's gonna win this now. But like, yeah, it wasn't as well executed as when Sainz did it last year. It was something where like he just didn't have the fucking experience to do it. It's
Yeah.
it's like watching a young person deal with a heckler and get away with it, and
Yeah, I was gonna say
you're like
there's
there were 5 better ways to approach that, but like everyone laughed and you got out of it fine.
yeah. Or sometimes some comics don't have the experience to deal with something like that,
Yeah,
and it just goes south, and the rest of the show goes south with it.
just
So,
crash and burn.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other thing is I've been finally getting around to watch Batman Cape Crusader.
What do you think about it?
Man, I have very mixed feelings about this because some of the takes on the villains
Mm.
I don't like. There's the one thing that I like from it is, so the actor who plays Batman, Bruce Wayne,
Mm-hmm.
is like he does like the gravelly Batman voice
Mm-hmm.
when he's Batman. And then, it's like the normal voice when he's Bruce Wayne. But the normal Bruce Wayne voice is only when he's around people in the public. So when he's with Alfred and he's not dressed up as Batman, it's still the Batman voice, which I thought was a very cool representation of like, no, this guy is Batman. Bruce Wayne is his alter ego. You know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah. There were things about it too that I liked and I didn't like. I I thought the episode, I think it's episode 2, the one where it was the older actor that was never the leading man episode,
okay.
the one that can manipulate his face.
Yes. The where he was basically Clayface
Yeah.
was,
I
yeah,
was
their takes on some of those characters. I enjoyed that take on Clayface, actually.
I mean, maybe I'll have to watch it again, but at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. The one that I enjoyed, I thought they did Harley Quinn pretty well. Like, the fact she was the one being Bruce Wayne's psychiatrist was pretty cool.
I not only that, but like the take on the character and um having Harley Quinn basically be the character that uh Dr. Krang was, Scarecrow,
Mm,
in Batman
yeah,
Begins. Like that's basically what her character is.
yeah, yeah,
Like she is a psychiatrist and then basically fucks with people. I mean, not in the asylum, but that's essentially what she does. And I was
yeah.
like, I thought that was a great take. Um, I didn't quite enjoy the take on Penguin. I mean,
Yeah.
it was what it was,
Mm.
but like Clayface, is it Firebug?
Yeah. Firebug.
I mean, that episode just ended up being way more fucking tragic than anything.
Yeah.
Firebug, who is Killshot? Is that what the
Yeah.
fuck is that his name?
Yeah.
God damn it, I think so. Um,
It is Killshot.
yeah, like I thought that was super interesting. Like
Yeah.
his character, it's done in a way that when you see characters, you're like, oh shit, I know who that's supposed to be. That's all right. That's
Yeah.
cool. Um,
What'd you think of the whole Harvey Dent?
so I'm not done the series yet. So
Okay.
I'm at the point where like that turn is just taking place right now.
Okay, then I won't say anything
So
until next week.
yeah, we'll talk about it next week because I have an episode and a half left to watch.
Okay.
But it's weird to me that they portray him. I think it makes sense because in the movie The Dark Knight, which I thought was one of the best like stories of Harvey Dent Two-Face.
Yeah,
That-
it's also my favorite Batman movie overall. Anyway.
Mine's actually The Batman. I love The Dark Knight. I think it's fucking awesome. But like The Batman, I feel is kind of everything that Batman's supposed to be.
See, I like that one a lot up until the last scene where it's like a 15-minute motorcycle ride. I'm like, okay, all right, move on. This is taking too long.
I guess so.
That's-
I don't know. But
That's
like
just me being nitpicky.
The Dark Knight has a super long motorcycle ride too. What are we
I
talking
know.
about?
As I was saying that, I remembered that I'm like, oh yeah, they do that in the Dark Knight as well.
Yeah.
Okay. The one I was excited for that I thought was gonna be a lot better was Bane.
For the Dark Knight Rises. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
I didn't like that they called it the Dark Knight Rises. I was hoping they'd go with like Batman Begins as a title is like whatever. But calling the second one The Dark Knight, I was like, okay, that's awesome. I was hoping they would have called the third one like Gotham or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you know it's a Batman film because of the name, but you don't need the and the fact that they're just
Yeah.
like, well, it's a sequel, so we have to name it after The Dark Knight and just add a word to it. Like, I wasn't a fan of that as like a naming scheme. I think that movie gets a worse rap than it deserves. I really enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises. I really enjoyed that take on Bane.
They shouldn't have made him Mexican. Like he's supposed to be a lucha libre wrestler.
Is that what he's supposed to be?
That's the one I've always seen him portrayed as.
Yeah, well, I mean, didn't they wasn't banging I mean, that was like the worst movie, Batman and Robin, where he was like Poison Ivy's Heavy.
Yeah.
It's a terrible fucking movie. But it's like
Oh.
I mean, the thing is, you know, when you start getting away from comic book stuff and trying to like ground things in reality, you have to get rid of weird shit like Titan and that, or
That's true.
or at least spend some time telling it. So whereas like if you're just like Bane's this crazy fucking super strong, smart mercenary dude who's now running a militia and is no longer like a person for hire. Like I thought it made sense.
Yeah.
And then the storytelling of like, hey, the person who came out of the pit, you know, like the representation of the Lazarus pit, ends up being Talia al Ghul, which I thought was like a great way to tell that story and a great way to incorporate things from that. Um, like this Batman, the two episodes of like Batman the Cape Crusader that I didn't like as much so far were like the supernatural ones,
Mm.
because the rest of it I'm like, yeah, it's fine, it's cool. I mean, it's a cartoon, so you can kind of go those places, but when it was like he's actually fighting a ghost, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And then like the little girl, who I don't know who that's supposed to represent, if anyone.
Oh, the one that could
The one that
absorb.
was like sucking people's essence
Yeah.
to be strong, and she was basically like a fucking vampire. But
Mm-hmm.
but it was also such a great representation of Batman, where he's like, we got to get you out of the sun, and like the little boy's like, let her go, she's a fucking monster, and he's like, that's not me though, and just like wraps her up and walks her. I really liked the take on Harley Quinn. I really like the take on Clayface. I like what's going on with Harvey Dent.
Mm.
I think the point that I was trying to make is like in the Dark Knight, like you don't see that corrupt side of Harvey Dent in that. Like it's just kind of
No.
alluded to, right?
Yeah.
Like you had a name when you were in internal affairs.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Tell me what that name was. Well, it was Two-Face. So, like, it was clear that the way that he got ahead probably wasn't the most on the take.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a good point.
you catch him at a place where he's elected into office and, like, you know, trying to do all the right things in the movie The Dark
Mm-hmm.
Knight. So seeing him as kind of like a corrupt person in Cape Crusader, I thought was very interesting. And
Yeah.
and watching that initial part of the turn, where, you know, he's out in public and it's just like he's so self-conscious that he thinks everyone is staring at him in that.
Yeah, and talking behind his back. Yeah.
Yeah, that like he just can't help to be like, yeah, fuck that guy. That, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when that guy's like, dude, it's great to see you out. I'm glad you're doing okay. Fuck that guy, right? Fuck him. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm excited to finish watching it. We'll talk about it when I'm finished watching it. There's
Sounds good.
a lot of aspects on that show that I want to talk about. But I think we'll save that for next week's episode.
Sounds good.
So we should wrap this up, I think.
All right.
So this weekend, South Rock Comedy Festival.
Yeah. My baby is finally being birthed.
Yeah.
All the hard work I put in, people get to come out and see it, and the tickets are selling really well.
Good.
And hopefully we get some pretty good turnouts. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I know we went over the lineups last week. Like, you did a pretty good job putting together like some balanced shows that are going to be very entertaining. So, and I know that it's not the easiest thing to do.
No,
So, you know, props to you for doing that.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
It's going to be a fun time. I'm excited to be a part of it. That's this Saturday. I'm at the Oceanic Park Theater. It's Dave Nystrom's headlining the show. I'll be doing a spot on that. And then,
I'll be at the Leon's Cafe the same night.
yeah, you're doing
Just a
two
little
shows. So
further
I
down.
might swing by for the late show.
Okay.
Because like my show starts at 7, yours is what, 7 and 9:30, I think. So
Yeah.
so I might
Yeah,
swing
and
by and
then-
hang out on the late show.
And then they're doing a rap party on Saturday as well at a local pub down the street. So
Okay, maybe I'll just do that, and you can go fuck yourself, and we'll see each other later to record the podcast. And do you have anything else in between that and our string of shows, or
no.
you need to plug?
Well, I'm doing October 12th. I'm co-headlining with Kevin Clarkson at Five Roads Brewery in Langley.
Oh, nice. That'll be fun. I've done that show. That's a fun show.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've done it once or twice now, so looking forward to coming back and doing that show. So
I think I last time I did it, I closed with the Playgrounds bit, and
oh yeah,
I watched Carson pull out his phone, and he was like recording it. And at the end of the show, he goes, "Oh, you didn't do like the try to jump on thing." And I go, "What do you think I'm gonna do? A pratfall onto a cement floor? You psychopath!" Like,
that's
no
funny.
fucking way.
You gotta sell the show, Chris. You gotta sell the show.
I ended it where it needed to end, which is what we're doing
All right, buddy.
this week.
Yeah,
So,
sounds good. Sounds good.
yeah, that's it for this week's episode. We'll be back
Take care, everybody.
next week. Have a great one. I'm Chris.
I'm Ryan.
Adios.
Bye.